Welcome to Read Alchemy. Today, you're going to learn English through a story. But don't worry about memorizing every word. Just listen to the story, look at the sentences on the screen, and let the English come to you naturally. If you hear a useful word or expression more than once, that's a good thing. Your brain needs repetition. So, let's begin. It was Saturday afternoon, and Daniel had one simple job: buy some food. That's it. He wasn't planning anything difficult. He wasn't going anywhere special. He just needed to go to the supermarket, buy a few things, and come home. At least that was the plan. Daniel walked into the supermarket with a small shopping list in his pocket. He needed bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, and coffee. 6 things. Easy, he looked at his list. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, and coffee. He repeated the list quietly. Sometimes, saying something aloud helps you remember it. Daniel walked toward the first aisle. The supermarket was busy. There were people everywhere. Some were pushing shopping carts. Some were carrying baskets. A little boy was running between the shelves while his mother tried to catch him. Daniel smiled. Saturday afternoon, he thought. Of course it's busy. He looked for the bread. He saw a sign that said bakery. A bakery is a place where bread and other baked food are made or sold. Daniel walked toward it. There were different kinds of bread everywhere. White bread, whole wheat bread, French bread, small rolls, large rolls. He picked up a loaf of bread. Then he looked at his list again. 1 thing done, 5 more to go. He put the bread in his basket and continued walking. Next, he needed milk. That sounded easy. But when Daniel reached the dairy section, he stopped. There were probably 20 different kinds of milk: whole milk, low-fat milk, organic milk, lactose-free milk, chocolate milk. Daniel stared at the shelves. Why are there so many choices? He picked up 1 bottle, then another, then another. Finally, he chose one. Okay, he said. Milk. He put it in his basket. 2 things done. He felt confident. Maybe this trip would be easier than he expected. Then his phone rang. It was his friend Mike. Hey Daniel, Mike said. Where are you? I'm at the supermarket. Oh, right, I forgot. Forgot what? I need coffee too. Daniel laughed. You're calling me because you want me to buy coffee? Exactly. You're very clever. I know. Mike laughed. Get the good coffee. What does that mean? You know, the expensive one. Daniel looked at the coffee shelves. There were about 30 different packages. He sighed. Mike, you're not making this easy. Just choose one. Fine. They said goodbye. Daniel put his phone back into his pocket. Then he looked at his shopping list. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, coffee. He had 3 things in his basket now: bread, milk, and coffee. He needed eggs. Daniel walked to another aisle. He found the eggs quickly. He picked up a box and put it into his basket. Then he heard someone behind him. Excuse me. Daniel turned around. An elderly woman was standing there. She was holding a shopping list. Could you help me? Sure, Daniel said. What are you looking for? The woman showed him her list. I can't find the olive oil. Daniel looked around. I'm sorry, I don't know where it is either. The woman smiled. That's okay. Then she pointed toward the end of the aisle. Maybe it's over there. Daniel looked. I think you're right. They walked together toward the end of the aisle, and there it was, the olive oil. You found it. The woman said. Daniel laughed. Actually, you found it. Thank you anyway. You're welcome. Daniel walked away. He felt good. He had helped someone, but there was one problem. He had forgotten where he left his basket. He stopped. He looked behind him, nothing. He walked back. He looked at the shelves, no basket. He checked the next aisle, nothing. He walked a little farther, still nothing. Daniel started to feel confused. Where did I put that basket? He tried to remember. He had the bread. He had the milk. He had the eggs. He had the coffee. His basket had been in his hand. Then he helped the woman. Then he couldn't remember. He walked back to the place where he had seen her. No basket. Daniel looked around. There were shopping carts everywhere, but his basket was gone. Then he noticed something strange. A man was walking away from the aisle with a basket. Daniel looked at him. The basket looked exactly like his. Same size, same black handle, and there was a loaf of bread inside. Daniel quickly walked after him. "Excuse me." The man stopped. Daniel pointed at the basket. "I think that's my basket." The man looked confused. "Your basket?" "Yes, I think you have the wrong basket." Daniel looked inside. There was bread, there was milk, there were eggs, there was coffee. Everything looked familiar. He felt relieved. "See, it's mine." The man shook his head. "No, I don't think so." Daniel looked at him. "What?" The man pointed inside the basket. "There are bananas." Daniel looked down. There were 3 bananas. Daniel hadn't bought bananas. He slowly looked back at the man. Then he looked at the basket, then at his shopping list. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, coffee, no bananas. Daniel suddenly realized something. He had been following the wrong basket, and his real basket was still somewhere inside the supermarket. But where? He looked around. The supermarket suddenly seemed much bigger than it had 5 minutes earlier. And that was when Daniel realized. He was beginning to get lost. Daniel stood in the middle of the aisle. He looked left, then he looked right. He could see shelves full of food, shopping carts, baskets, and people, but he couldn't see his basket. "Okay," he said quietly. "Don't panic." He looked at his shopping list again. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, coffee. He had already bought most of these things. Now he just needed to find his basket. Daniel walked back toward the dairy section. Maybe he had left it near the milk. He checked the shelves. Nothing. He looked behind a shopping cart. Nothing. He even looked under a small table. Still nothing. A woman walking past him noticed his confused face. "Are you looking for something?" "Yes," Daniel said, "my shopping basket." The woman smiled. "Did you lose it?" "I think so." "Where did you last see it?" Daniel thought for a moment. "I'm not sure." The woman laughed gently. "Well, that's a problem." "I know." Daniel smiled. "I'm having a difficult day." The woman pointed toward the front of the supermarket. "You could ask an employee." "That's a good idea." "Thank you, you're welcome." Daniel walked toward the front. He saw an employee wearing a blue shirt. "Excuse me," Daniel said. "Could you help me?" "Of course," the employee replied. "I lost my shopping basket." The employee looked surprised. "Your basket?" "Yes." "What does it look like?" "It's a small black basket." "What's inside?" Daniel started listing the things. "Bread, milk, eggs, coffee, and—" He stopped. "Apples and chicken." The employee nodded. "Okay. Do you remember where you last had it?" Daniel thought again. "I was near the eggs." "Then I would start there." "Thank you." Daniel walked back toward the egg section. This time he paid close attention. He looked at every aisle. He checked every corner. Then he saw something, a small black basket. It was sitting beside a shelf. Daniel walked toward it. "Yes." He picked it up. Then he looked inside. Bread, milk, eggs, coffee, apples, chicken. Everything was there. Daniel smiled. "I found it." He felt relieved, but then he noticed something. The chicken was missing. He looked again. No chicken. He checked under the other items. Nothing. Daniel looked at his list. Chicken. He definitely remembered putting chicken in the basket. Where did it go? He started thinking. Then he remembered. He had picked up the chicken before he called Mike. He had put it in the basket. So where was it now? Daniel looked around. Suddenly, he heard a voice behind him. "Excuse me." He turned around. It was the elderly woman from earlier. She was holding a package of chicken. "Is this yours?" Daniel stared at the package. "Yes, I found it in my basket." Daniel laughed. "Your basket?" "Yes." The woman looked embarrassed. "I think we accidentally switched baskets." Daniel looked at her. "So that was my chicken?" "Yes." "And those bananas were yours?" "Yes." Daniel started laughing. The woman laughed too. "So you followed that poor man because you thought he had your basket?" "Yes." "Oh dear, I feel terrible." "Don't worry," the woman said. "It was an honest mistake." Daniel smiled. I'm glad we figured it out. They exchanged their items. Daniel put the chicken back into his basket. The woman put her bananas into hers. Then she looked at Daniel's shopping list. Are you finished? Almost. What else do you need? Daniel looked down. He checked the list. Then he froze. Apples. He looked at his basket. There were no apples. He remembered buying them. But now they were gone. He looked at the woman. She looked at him. Don't tell me, she said. Daniel slowly opened his mouth. I think. He looked toward the other end of the supermarket. I think I left the apples somewhere. The woman laughed. You'd better find them. Daniel smiled. Yes, I'd better. He started walking again. But this time he didn't walk randomly. He tried to remember every place he had visited. The bread section, the milk section, the eggs, the coffee, then the chicken. He stopped. Wait, he remembered something. Before he helped the woman with the olive oil, he had been standing near the fruit section. That's where he bought the apples. Daniel quickly walked toward the fruit section, and there, beside a large display of oranges, he saw something familiar, a small paper bag. He picked it up. Inside were 6 red apples. Daniel smiled. Finally. He put the apples into his basket. Now everything was there. He looked at his shopping list one more time. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, coffee, everything was checked. Daniel felt proud. He had found his basket. He had found his chicken. He had found his apples. Now he only needed to pay. He walked toward the checkout, but when he arrived, he stopped again. There was a very long line. Daniel looked at the people waiting. Then he looked at his watch. He had been inside the supermarket for almost an hour. He sighed. Why does shopping always take so long? He joined the line. A few minutes passed, then another few minutes. The line moved slowly, very slowly. Daniel looked ahead. He was almost at the cashier. Finally, he was going to finish his shopping. But just as he reached the front of the line, his phone rang again. It was Mike. Daniel answered. Hello? Hey, Daniel. What? Did you get the coffee? Daniel looked down at his basket. He suddenly became very quiet. He checked the basket. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken. He looked again. There was no coffee. Daniel closed his eyes. Oh no. What happened? Mike asked. I forgot the coffee. Oh no. What happened? Mike asked. I forgot the coffee. Mike laughed. You forgot the coffee? Yes, but that's the thing I asked you to buy. I know. Daniel looked at the long line behind him. I've been in this supermarket for almost an hour. And you still forgot the coffee? Please don't remind me. Mike laughed again. Okay, just get the coffee. Daniel looked around. The coffee section was on the other side of the supermarket. He looked at the cashier. Then he looked at the line. He didn't want to lose his place. He had already spent too much time shopping, but he needed the coffee. Wait here, he told the woman behind him. I'll be back in a minute. She looked surprised. Are you sure? Yes, I forgot something. Daniel quickly left the line. He walked through the aisles. This time he was more careful. He didn't want to get lost again. He looked for the signs above the aisles. One sign said cereal. Another said snacks. Then he saw coffee and tea. Finally, Daniel walked toward the coffee. There were several brands on the shelf. He remembered what Mike had said. Get the good coffee. Daniel picked up an expensive package. He looked at the price. $20. He put it back. No. He picked up another package. $10. That sounds better. He put it in his basket. Then he hurried back to the checkout. But when he reached the line, something was wrong. The woman behind him was gone. So was everyone else. Daniel looked around. He was standing in the wrong checkout area. There were several checkout sections in the supermarket. He had come back to the wrong one. He sighed. Not again. He looked around for the woman he had been standing behind. He couldn't see her. Then he noticed another long line nearby. He walked toward it, and there she was. The woman was standing in the line. She looked at Daniel and smiled. You found your way back. Barely. She laughed. Daniel joined the line again. This time, he kept his basket close to him. He wasn't taking any chances. A few minutes later, he reached the cashier. Hello, the cashier said. Hi, did you find everything you needed? Daniel looked at his basket. He smiled. Yes, everything. The cashier began scanning the items. Beep, bread, beep, milk, beep, eggs, beep, apples, beep, chicken, beep, coffee. Daniel smiled. The shopping trip was finally over. The cashier told him the total. Daniel reached into his pocket. Then he stopped. He checked his wallet. His wallet wasn't there. Daniel looked at the cashier. The cashier looked at him. Daniel checked his other pocket. Nothing. He checked the back pocket of his jeans. Nothing. His wallet was gone. For a moment, Daniel didn't know what to say. He had his phone. He had his shopping list. He had the food, but he didn't have his wallet. Is everything okay? The cashier asked. I can't find my wallet. The cashier nodded. Take your time. Daniel moved away from the checkout. He put his basket down. Then he thought carefully. Where had he last used his wallet? He remembered paying for a bottle of water earlier. No, that wasn't today. He remembered buying something last night. No, he needed to think. Then he remembered. He had taken out his wallet when he entered the supermarket. He had put it in his jacket pocket. Daniel touched his jacket. Nothing. Then he remembered something else. He had taken off his jacket while walking around the supermarket because he was feeling warm. His eyes became wide. He had left his jacket somewhere. Of course. He ran back toward the entrance, and there it was. His jacket was hanging on the back of a chair near the customer service desk. Daniel grabbed it. He reached into the pocket. His wallet was there. He laughed with relief. Thank goodness. He hurried back to the checkout. The cashier smiled. Found it? Yes. I left my jacket near the entrance. Daniel paid for everything. Then he picked up his bags. He was finally finished. He walked toward the exit. The automatic doors opened. Fresh air touched his face. Daniel stopped outside and looked back at the supermarket. He had gone inside to buy 6 things. He had lost his basket. He followed the wrong person. He mixed up 2 baskets. He forgot his apples. He forgot his coffee. He went to the wrong checkout, and then he almost lost his wallet. Daniel started laughing. This was supposed to be a quick shopping trip. His phone rang. It was Mike again. Daniel answered. Did you get the coffee? Daniel looked at the coffee in his bag. Yes. And everything else? Yes. Good. There was a short silence. Then Mike asked, Why are you laughing? Daniel smiled. Because I think I just had the longest supermarket trip of my life. Mike laughed. Well, at least you didn't forget the coffee twice. Daniel looked at his shopping bags. He suddenly stopped smiling. Wait, what? Daniel checked the receipt. Then he looked inside the bag. He looked at the coffee. Then at the receipt again. Mike, yes, I bought the wrong coffee. There was silence. Then Mike started laughing. Daniel laughed too. And for the first time that afternoon, he didn't care. Sometimes the best stories begin with a simple plan, and sometimes everything goes completely wrong. But that's how we learn, not only in life, but also in English. When you make a mistake, don't stop, try again, and keep speaking. Daniel stood outside the supermarket with his shopping bags in both hands. He looked at the coffee again. It was the wrong one. He laughed. At least I got something. Mike was still on the phone. So, what are you going to do? I don't know. You could take it back. Daniel looked at the supermarket entrance. He thought about everything that had happened inside. The basket, the bananas, the chicken, the missing apples, the checkout, his wallet, and now the coffee. He shook his head. I think I've had enough shopping for today. Mike laughed. Fair enough. Daniel started walking home. After a few steps, he heard someone calling his name. Daniel, he turned around. It was the elderly woman from the supermarket. She was walking toward him. Wait. Daniel stopped. Is everything okay? The woman smiled. Yes, I just wanted to give you something. She held out a small paper bag. Daniel looked inside. There were 3 bananas. Your bananas? Yes, you're giving them to me. I bought too many. Daniel smiled. Thank you. You helped me today. You helped me too. The woman laughed. I think we helped each other. Daniel nodded. That's true. They said goodbye. Daniel continued walking home. The afternoon sun was warm. The street was quiet. For the first time that day, everything felt calm. Then Daniel looked at his shopping bags. He suddenly remembered something, the coffee. He stopped walking. Wait a minute. He opened the bag again. Then he looked carefully at the package. There was something written on the front. Daniel read it again. Decaf coffee. He laughed. Oh, Mike is going to love this. He called Mike. Hey, I have something to tell you. What? I didn't just buy the wrong coffee. What did you buy? Decaf. Mike was silent for a second, then he laughed. You don't even drink decaf? I know. So what are you going to do with it? Daniel smiled. I'll drink it. You'll drink it? Sure. Why? Daniel looked back at the supermarket. Because after today, I need to relax. Mike laughed. That might actually be a good idea. Daniel continued walking. As he walked, he thought about the afternoon. He had gone into the supermarket because he needed 6 simple things, but he came home with a much bigger story. He had learned something too. When you are in a hurry, you make mistakes. When you are confused, it helps to stop and think. And when you don't understand something, it's okay to ask for help. Those are simple ideas, but they are useful in English too. If you don't understand someone, you can say, "Could you say that again?" If you don't know where something is, you can say, "Excuse me, where can I find this?" If you are confused, you can say, "I'm not sure." And if you make a mistake, you can simply say, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake." These small sentences can help you in many situations. You don't need complicated English to communicate. Sometimes, a simple English is the most useful English. Daniel finally arrived home. He put the groceries on the kitchen table. Bread, milk, eggs, apples, chicken, and decaf coffee. He looked at everything, then he noticed something. The bananas were still in the paper bag. He smiled. He put them next to the apples, then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Mike. Don't forget to buy coffee next time. Daniel laughed. He typed a reply. Don't worry, next time I'll make a list. He looked at his shopping list on the table. Then he added one more sentence underneath it. Check the list before you leave. Daniel put the list on the refrigerator. He knew he would probably make another mistake someday. Everyone does, but that's okay. Because mistakes are part of learning. And when you're learning English, you don't need to speak perfectly. You just need to keep going. Listen carefully. Try the sentence. Make a mistake. Try again. And slowly, the words become easier. The sentences become more natural. And one day, you realize you're no longer translating every word in your head. You're simply speaking. So the next time you walk into a supermarket, remember Daniel. Check your list. Check your basket, check your wallet, and most importantly, don't follow someone else's shopping basket. Daniel certainly learned that lesson, and that's the end of our story. But your English practice doesn't have to end here. Listen to the story again. Notice the expressions you heard. Try saying them out loud. Could you help me? I'm looking for something. Where can I find this? I can't find my basket. I think I made a mistake. Are you sure? That's okay. Take your time. I finally found it. And remember, you don't become confident by waiting until your English is perfect. You become confident by using the English you already know. So keep listening, keep repeating, and keep speaking, because every small conversation is another step forward.